teach diversity to preschoolers. Guess what I told her? You don't. You teach them the golden rule, which is, he who makes the gold makes the rules. No, that's my dad's golden rule. That's the wrong one. So it's important that we understand context, right? So if I have a farmer in southern Minnesota, does the farmer have to have a certain amount of intelligence? Yes. What does a farmer have to know to be functional and successful as a farmer? He has to know how to farm. What does that mean? So he has to know stuff about machinery. He has to know about crops. He has to know about the chemical makeup of the ground and how he wants to use either fertilizers or pesticides, or if he wants to go organic. He has to understand that stuff. He has to know how to sell and when to sell and how to get that stuff to market. And so to me, it sounds like that's a pretty sophisticated enterprise. That there's a certain amount of intelligence that a farmer has to have. Would anyone disagree with that? All right, cool. So what if I took this farmer from greater Minnesota and I dropped him off in downtown Manhattan? What would the people of Manhattan say about this farmer? That he doesn't know anything, that he's backwards, that he's a hick, he's out of place. But what if I took a person from New York and I dropped him off at the farmer's piece of land? What would the farmer then say about the New Yorker? That he doesn't know anything. Right? And he may go as far as what my grandfather would say about a dog that doesn't hunt. What do you do with a dog that doesn't hunt? You shoot it. I'm not saying you shoot dogs. I do find it interesting that all of my grandfather's dogs ran away. But so within their own context, they know lots of things. But when they go into a different context, it becomes a bit difficult for them to know or adapt. And so, can the farmer learn how to ride the subway? Yes, he can learn. He has that capacity, right? Can the New Yorker learn how to milk a cow? He certainly could have the capacity to learn that. What is the difference between their arrival date and their acclimation to the context? What is that called? Starts with T and ends in I'm. Time, right? So typically when we talk about cultural competence, what we don't talk about is the fact that we don't give people enough time to acclimate to our environment. And we also don't take the time to acclimate, to help them acclimate to that, right? So we're in this microwave society, let's do it quick, let's do it fast, let's make it happen yesterday, right? So here are some things that you can do to help people acclimate to the context. And again, the interesting thing about the Titanic being sunk by an iceberg, how come was it sunk by giant coconuts? How come that didn't do the Titanic in? Where was the Titanic? It was in the Arctic Circle, right? So the context. And what we typically don't understand about culture is that culture is an adaptation to the context. And I mean no offense for my sisters who are wearing a hijab today. I mean no offense by this. But I will say to the rest of you that wearing a hijab is not a fashion statement. Right? It's not a fashion statement. When nuns would wear their nunnery, it wasn't a fashion statement, right? So all too often, what we don't realize is that the things that we see, these artifacts, are the product of our values. So that's why I get concerned when I see people twerking. Because that's a demonstration of their values, the things that we can see about a culture. Now here's the trick about this, is that as human beings, sometimes we're very lazy. And so instead of trying to build relationships with folks so I have a better understanding of them, I try to short-circuit the system by looking at the artifacts. And when I separate the artifacts, When I separate the artifacts from their values, I get stereotypes. I get stereotypes. So I say all these people are just like this, without giving regard to what those things mean. Because I do this thing not because I just think it's cute, but because it actually has some meaning to me. And so if you want to know more about me, or you want to be with me, or you want to help me, then you need to understand these deeper values. And the only way that you do that is when you have a personal relationship with me, even in a professional setting. Right? There's that last thing. What we know on the back of your handout, what we know about human motivation is that emotions plus thought dictate behavior. Emotions plus thought dictate behavior. That behavior comes because people have thought about it and they have some emotional fuel to act it out. What is bigotry? What is bigotry? Anyone known a bigot? Anyone seen a bigot on TV? What is a bigot? It's Archie Bunker. Some of us have never seen Archie Bunker and we don't know what you're talking about.
Someone that thinks they're better than someone.
So someone who thinks that they're better than someone else, someone who actively seeks to put other people down, people who act with limited information is how we typically talk about bigoted people. And when I'm interacting with bigots, one of the things that my self-diagnosis was of the bigot was that they were ignorant. Right? And so I said, I will bring the bigot information. And so as I'm interacting with this bigot, I bring them information. And what does the bigot do? They dig into their bigotry. And then I give them more information. They dig in further. Till finally I've given them so much information that I've overwhelmed them. And then they tell me the root of their problem. They say, Andre, I don't care what you say. This is how I feel. Oh, bigotry is an emotional state. And what is the strongest emotion that overshadows fear and hate? Love. To help a bigot, you have to love them. What? I don't know if you've ever noticed, but any time a bigot has been cut off, they never get better. These separatist groups that say we want to be outside of society, as long as they're outside of society, they don't get better. They get sicker and they multiply. And so if you want to help a bigot, if you want to help grandma stop using the other word for Brazil nuts, then you love her to the point that she can act better. Prejudice. I was always taught that prejudice was a bad thing. Prejudice will save your life. It will save your life. It's 11:30 at night. I'm walking down a dark street. 6 guys are coming towards me. What decision do I make? I cross the street. Why? Because I'm prejudiced. I have prejudged this situation. But the problem with prejudiced people is that they take a good decision out of its context and try to apply it into another context, and it doesn't work. So now I'm at Cub, using the same logic that I learned on the street. I'm in trouble. Right? Right? So bigotry is an emotional state. Prejudice is a thought process. How do you change a thought? How do you change someone's thinking? Information, experience. I will give you the trick. I don't talk to teenagers any longer. I stopped talking to them. I ask 1,000,001 questions. You've seen those law shows, right? Where the attorney stands up, and the prosecuting attorney, and he asks a question that he knows the judge is going to toss out. He knows that the defense is not going to accept this question, but he asks it anyway. And he says, somebody was civil, and the other guy said, I object. And then the judge said, overrule. And so they're going through all this stuff. So why did he ask the question that he knew was going to get kicked out? Because once you plant that seed, that's when change actually happens. So if you have a prejudiced person or a person who has a particular way of thinking about the world, ask them questions about their point of view. So is that true about all those people? Wow, okay. But where did you read that? Okay. I would like to get that book. I'd like to see that movie. Was that in a documentary? Where did you get that information? How many people like that have you been around, right? You start doing that, and the prejudiced person goes, ah! Right? Like you see that Seed People movie? They just go, ah! Like that. Okay. And lastly, who said that they would take care of discrimination? 1964, someone said that they will take care of discrimination. Who was that? It's right here. It's in your paper. The government. The government said, we will take care of discrimination. You bring us discrimination, and we'll take care of it. We have a policy and procedure for everything. Right? So since 1964, since discrimination was outlawed, we have no more discrimination. Yay! Why do we still have discrimination? It's a mathematical equation. We said that emotions plus thoughts dictate behaviors. If bigotry is an emotion and prejudice is a thought, why do we still have discriminatory behavior? Is there a law that says what emotions I can have? No. Is there a law that says what thoughts I can have? No. There are laws that say that I can't behave in a particular kind of way. So why do we still have discrimination? Whose responsibility is to change people's thoughts and their emotions? Ours. We have to say something. We have to be something in the presence of all of that evil. And that's how we start moving towards creating better lives for all of the people that we serve. We have to love them through it. My name is Koen. Thank you so much for your time.
I'll take these in the back when you're finished. And